Hello everybody, this is Mr. Farran speaking, and I thought I'd make a short video since we have a long vacation, and I thought maybe I'd just get you guys up to speed on where we are right now and where we're headed, and maybe just make a short video on the things we took before, and maybe cover some of the units that we were supposed to take. So since we have 2 weeks, since we're off for 2 weeks, I thought maybe I'd maybe make a short video and tell you guys where we are at the moment. So what you see in front of you right now is the course calendar, and over here, if you remember from class last time, we covered units 5 and 6, thesis statement, and we talked a bit about the introductory paragraph. We didn't quite finish everything for the introductory paragraph, so I'll do that now, and then maybe I'll talk a bit about the Unit 7 and Unit 8 as well, just very quickly. Obviously there are some exercises that we have to do, so I hope that when you watch this video you can maybe pause and then do the exercise that you're supposed to do, and then maybe go back and check the answers, okay? Because of the coronavirus holiday and everything that's happened so far, according to the course calendar, as you can see, we were supposed to have 2 quizzes, quiz 1 and quiz 2. I spoke to the Dr. Marine, who is in charge of the course, and because we won't have enough time to do everything. She told us to give you guys only 1 quiz out of 14. Or I think 15, I'm sorry, because the portfolio is out of 5. So we will have 1 quiz only instead of the 2 quizzes. You can see that in the old calendar we have quiz 1, quiz 2 over here. So now for the when we go back after the vacation, I believe we will only have 1 quiz only. Okay, I will tell you more about that in a second. Okay, but anyway, so yeah, last time we were in class we covered units 5 and 6. By the way, just to remind you all, I have put all my notes on my blog, okay? So if you check my blog, you can see that I've put my notes over here, and yeah, you just click here for part 1, you can get, I think, the first maybe 6-7 units over here, and then the last 4 or 5 over here. So please click on the links on my blog over here, and you are free to download all the notes, okay? Let me just quickly remind you of what we did last time. Last time we were in class, we quickly talked about chapter 5, which was the thesis statement. And yeah, for the thesis statement, before that we talked a bit about the writing process. If you remember, we talked about how, number 1, you should understand a paragraph or essay question, brainstorm, organize your ideas, put them in an outline, and then you write your first draft, and then you review and edit, and then obviously you give us your final draft. We also talked a bit about how to transfer your ideas from paragraph to essay. Remember, the topic sentence becomes the introductory paragraph, supporting sentences become the body paragraph or paragraphs, and the concluding sentence becomes the concluding paragraph. We also talked about the different parts of the essay. I think all of you should know this by now. And then yeah, chapter 5 was all about the thesis statement. The thesis is of course the most important sentence in your essay. We talked all about this. It's important because it contains your main argument. If you remember, I gave you some exercises. We did this together. I told you to find the TS and the CS of the essays you had. We also talked a bit about the conclusion, which I will talk about today. And yeah, so on and so forth. So we did all of this together. We talked about the thesis, how the thesis has 3 important things. Every thesis statement has a topic, a controlling idea, and a predictor as well. And yeah, remember, the topic is the subject of the essay, the controlling idea is what you're going to argue about the topic, and the predictor tells us how many body paragraphs we're going to have. Again, I gave you some examples. We did this in class, if you remember. Again, remember, the predictor is optional. You don't have to have a predictor. Yeah, I gave you this one as well, if you remember. And again, my beautiful face and my beautiful ears and hair. Yeah. I gave you some examples, topic versus thesis. Yeah, and then I gave you this exercise where you had to find the topic, the controlling idea, and the predictor of the following. Okay, so we did this in class, and yeah, we also did this. Characteristics. The characteristics of a thesis statement. Remember, a thesis statement must always be a complete sentence. It's a statement, not a question. It should be an opinion, not a fact, and it should only have one controlling idea. Remember, the opinion, it has to be an opinion, because if it's a fact, then there's nothing else to argue. There's nothing left to argue. Okay. We did all this together. Yeah. So I just wanted to remind you of what we did for chapter 5. Okay. Now, chapter 6, where's chapter 6? Chapter 6 is over here. Now, for chapter 6, again, we talked a bit about the introductory paragraph. If you remember from our last class, we told you, or we discussed together that, or we understand now that every part of the essay has a part to play. And the introduction does two things. It pulls and it prepares the readers for what will come, for what will happen. So introduction starts with a hook, gives general background information, and then ends with a thesis statement. Okay, the most important sentence in the introduction is, of course, the thesis statement. Okay, so your introduction should look something like this. And I gave you an example of how this is played out in real life. So if you had to write an introductory paragraph, it will look something like this. Okay, don't forget that every essay must have a title. And then I think I ended here last time, and I said that we have 3 types of introductory paragraphs. The first one is general to specific, the second one is anecdotal, and the third one is historical. To give you some examples, when we talk about introductory paragraphs that are general to specific, basically you have something like this. So you begin with a general statement of the topic, and then you gradually narrow it down until you get to the specific thesis statement. So it's like an inverted triangle, if you think about it. You start in a very, very broad way, and then as you write or as you go down, it becomes more specific. And of course, the most specific is obviously the sentence at the end, which is the thesis statement. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, your introduction can be anecdotal. Anecdotal is basically a brief story that is relevant to your thesis. Imagine your teacher asks you to write an essay about a famous, let's say, historical figure. So imagine you take this guy as an example. Do you know who this guy is, by the way? I think some of you might know him as Gandhi. I was asking the boys once, do you know who this guy is? And one of the boys said, I think, sir, I saw him in Mubarakiya. So no, he does not sell dates in Mubarakiya. This is Muhammad Gandhi. And imagine your teacher asked you to write an essay about this man. And then you can maybe start your essay with something like this. It says, as Gandhi stepped on a train one day, one of his shoes slipped off and was left behind on the track. He was unable to get it as the train started moving. Gandhi calmly took off his other shoe and threw it to land close to the first shoe. Asked why he did that, Gandhi replied, the poor man who finds the shoes will now have a pair he can use. So this is a very interesting paragraph, a very interesting anecdote you can actually use if you're going to write an essay about a historical figure. So Gandhi, obviously, he was famous for being, for being peaceful, for having like a non-violent approach to protesting against the colonial rule of the British. So if you were to write a paragraph about Gandhi, then you can obviously start like this. And this is a very short, interesting story about Gandhi's life. Okay, so we talked about the first one, which was general to specific. The second type of introductory paragraph is the anecdotal. And the third one is historical. So again, let's say your teacher asks you to write an essay about Kuwait. Then you might want to write, then maybe your first paragraph might be just some historical information about Kuwait itself, okay? So it says here, you may choose to write a brief historical introduction to your essay. Obviously, depending on, what your topic is, and so on and so forth. So we have 3 ways to start, or we have 3 different, let's say, types of introductory paragraphs. First one is called general to specific. The second one is anecdotal, which basically means it's like a short story about someone's life. And the third one is historical. Yep. So we have an exercise on page 79, practice number 1. Okay, please do it. And yeah, when I see you in class, I will give you the answers, okay? I will double check the answers with you in class. So please do it at home, practice, and when I see you in class, I will give you the answers. Okay, structure and mechanics. So basically, again, the book doesn't only teach you how to write an essay, but we also dive a bit into grammar and the structure of the language itself, because it's impossible to write an essay without really knowing the structure, without knowing what a verb is, what a subject is, and so on and so forth. So here it says a complete sentence in English must have a subject and a verb. Okay, I think all of you know this by now. Every sentence must have a subject and a verb. It says any sentence missing a subject or a verb is called a fragment. So imagine if you have a sentence that's missing either a subject or a verb, then in English we call this a fragment. Okay? So what is a fragment? A fragment can be a sentence that is missing something or a dependent clause by itself. Okay? So what is a dependent clause? A dependent clause is basically it's like a short phrase that is not connected to anything else. Okay? So we also call this a fragment. By the way, the word fragment is, like for example, if you can imagine, if you look at the picture I have, why do I have that specific picture? It's because if let's say you break a dish, or you break a plate, right? What happens is the plate will shatter into, like, let's say 100 pieces, yeah, and each piece is called a fragment. Yeah, so by itself it's incomplete. It's only when you put the pieces together, then you have the complete bowl or plate. So it's similar in English. If you have a sentence that's missing something, then we call that a fragment. Okay. These are just some examples of fragments. Because I wanted a safer neighborhood. This is a fragment because it's part of a bigger sentence, but it's missing something. It can't stand by itself. Look at the next one. John singing in the shower. Again, this is a fragment because the verb is missing. So John is singing in the shower. Dancing and laughing at the party downtown. Again, this is not a complete sentence. Something is missing, so we call this a fragment. And then again, the last one, for example, a big backyard. This is also an example of a fragment because it seems like this is part of something much bigger, but it's missing. Okay. Again, we have a practice. We have an exercise. This is page 83, practice 4. Please do this now, or do it when you can, and I will show you the answers on the next slide. Okay. So please pause the video if you want to do this now. Please practice. Pause the video now, and then I will show you the answer on the very next slide. Okay? Okay, so hopefully you pause the video, and hopefully you're not cheating, and I will show you the answer in 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay? This is the answer. Again, you can pause this video to check your answer, and then when you finish, you can always proceed. Yep? So, we also have another exercise where you have to write a thesis statement. This is on page 84. It says also use the topic sentences and the conclusion to help you write a good thesis statement. Okay? Again, I will pause the video. Please pause the video and do this exercise, and when you finish, you can always go back and check your answers. Okay? So please pause the video now, and when you finish, come back and check your answers. Okay, so I hope you paused the video, and if you did the exercise, please check your answers. I will just give you a sample thesis statement for the exercise you just did. These are just 3 examples. You have 1, 2, and 3. The first 2 are, let's say, more detailed somehow, and the last one is just a quick one. There is no طبعا perfect answer, but yeah, I just gave you a sample answer. So if your thesis looks like one of the 3 I mentioned, then I think you should be okay. Again, if you're not sure, you can always come to my office when we go back to college, and I will always check your answers for you. And yeah, of course, if you have something different than the ones I have, it could also still be correct. You don't have to have the exact same answer as I do. I just gave you a sample answer, okay? And yeah, that's it for Unit 6. Yeah, don't forget to work on your portfolio. You can check my blog for that. And yeah, for the portfolio, you have to write like an introductory paragraph, which is only 100 words long. And of course, as always, please continue reading your book. Okay, that's it for this video. I will make another video covering the next 2 chapters. Okay, thank you for your time and see you in class.